Welcome to the Dragon's Tome. My name's Jack, and I'm here with my cohorts, Rob and Pat.
Chopper?
Chopper.
I'm always last. Rob.
Okay. Well, it's a well-oiled machine. We are deep into the bowels of Dragon Magazine, and this week we are doing issue number 6, and it is from April.
April
And,
77.
On the cover, we can see what looks like a Rob says harpy, or Rob said a
I think it kind of looks like a harpy, but she's got like wings and like a insectoid body. So
Yeah, but then she's also like sitting next to another elf or some kind of Sylvan, and those two wouldn't hang out, you know?
well, I think that she's the guy saving the woman from the beast.
yeah because
She is chained. I didn't notice
she's
that.
manacled. Yeah.
Oh, all right.
Well, I don't blame you for not noticing because it's pretty busy. It's a lot of gold and orange going on.
Yeah, it is very, very yellow. That is for sure.
Yes, Morneau. It's by somebody called Morneau.
Well, he did go more.
No.
You set that one up and we popped it right over there.
Exactly. Okay, so that is a cover. Definitely one of the
Better covers, that's for
better
sure.
covers, I would say. I'm not gonna. We're not gonna start ranking covers, but I kind of like that one.
We should rank covers. I rank this it's better than the others, but it's not very good.
Ooh, you got a dissenting opinion.
Wow. It's too busy.
Yes.
Okay, so who wants to go first on issue number 6? Is it me that always goes first? Tell me it's always me that's number 1.
I think we
It's
just
the
random.
host's choice. Yeah.
It's the host's choice.
You could choose yourself if you want to be narcissistic.
Oh,
Ooh.
okay.
Challenge.
Well, and I'm gonna throw this to Chopper because I think that's the only way we could not have hurt feelings at this point.
All right, so for my article, I actually got into this article, and it's on page 6. It's Sea Trade
Speak
and D&D
English.
Camp, page 6.
I know.
I Sea Trade and D&D campaigns. I like this article because
Another long one, isn't it? Oh no, this
it
one's
wasn't
not long.
super long, yeah, but it was one of these articles that, again, predated what we would do in some of the other campaigns when we do, because like we would get to a certain level, we would have some certain money, and then I would always ask the GM, what can I do with my money to get a business to roll this cash around? And then this D&D Sea Trade allows you to buy boats and trade among ports and kind of roll your money around while you're adventuring. So it's kind of like an automatic behind-the-scene things. You just roll a couple of dice for the year, and you either expand your fortune or lose your fortune. This one being sea trading.
Always being the hustler.
Well, I mean, I mean, if we're really role playing and you're an adventurer, you got this cash, you're just not going to sit on it. There are no banks collecting interest back in those days, I don't think.
You sit on it like a dragon. That's what you do.
Yeah, but I want my money to grow. The dragon just steal.
As a murder hobo,
You know?
I find this offensive.
But so
Used to
I
be
like
about
this-
killing the monsters, man. Now you're on all corporate.
You sold out.
I get, well, I like my money. We've all grown up. We've gone past adventuring and killing.
Never grow up. Never grow old. Goonies forever.
But you're right. It was a neat little concise article that basically you wouldn't be taking up everyone's time and energy.
Yeah.
It was just
Something
a
you
kind
could
of like
roll real quick at the beginning of the session. If it was like, say, a year's worth of time in the game, then you say, "Oh, well, how's my trade routes going?" And then you roll it and you get some money. Who knows? Maybe you get them enough money to get a wizard to enchant you a Vorpal Blade.
Or maybe you lose it all.
Oh, yeah, or you lose it all. That's the thing. You could lose it all. That's one good thing about this. Like, you could lose your ships. There's a spot on the charts, if you roll high enough, you can actually, your ships get lost at sea.
And your owner notified 3 to 8 weeks later.
Yeah. So.
Well, that's a good start. A nice article by Ronald Spencer.
Junior.
Rob, what did you want to highlight in this issue?
Of course, I'll start with the Dragon Rumbles. He talks about the magazine's success in this one, and the huge growth of D&D, and Empire of the Petal Throne, that famous Petal Throne.
That game is back again.
And once again, I think it's because there wasn't many other games, so that they got a lot of attention, even though I think pretty soon it falls by the wayside as more games come to the fore. We're already seeing, like, almost every issue there's a new game, so I think the explosion's happening as this magazine's coming out.
It's getting ready to start, because I think the red box drops soon.
Yeah, it was 78, yeah, I think, so another year. And it just, by the ads we keep seeing, there's new games. Is there a new game in this one? There's another one coming up.
There is a new game, and I'm going to talk about it.
Okay, perfect. I think I know what you're talking about. So yeah, that's all that Mr. Kask wants to talk about this time, is just that everything's getting popular. And he loves Empire of the Petal Throne, it seems.
Nice. Well, it's not the last time we're going to hear about that game, but certainly, certainly it's not something that took the world by storm. So for my first article, I'm going to go. I'm going to scamper on over to page 4, and it's more about the
beginning of the book. I like this.
It's more of the Metamorphosis Alpha that we discussed in the last episode. If you didn't listen to that, first of all, shame on you. Second of all, touch my bell and my subscribe button, and give us a little feedback.
Rub your subscribe button.
Just pound on it. Just get in there and just give it as hard as you can.
Push it as hard as you can.
Exactly. And that aside, it is by Guy McLinmore Jr., and it is basically a backstory, alternate backstory to a game that we just learned the backstory to last episode. So I don't know in the time between the two what changed, but something had to be changed. And I bring it up because, you know, there's very little in the way mechanics. It's mostly lore, and it's not my jam. But other than a picture of a nudie boy walking around and a two-headed robot C-3PO or C-6PO, because he has two heads, is going to brain him with a spanner. So that is the highlight of it. But it just goes into different races and skills and stuff, and the discussion of a game that, again, much like the Petal Throne, withers and dies on the vine. So yeah, that's my first pick. A nudie boy walking around in a lab, and C-3PO is gonna.
So it's mostly for the picture.
Give his noggin a flogging. Yeah, mostly.
Once again, it looks like there's some kind of chambers, probably, that you wake up into this new world. So that seems
there is a lot of Metamorphosis Alpha. I will say, I did make a note of this in this issue, and some of it was a little hard to follow because I just don't know the game.
Yeah, but in the picture, yes, my interpretation was Nudie Boy got out of the one chamber that's opened and is like, hey, I'm just going to go for a stroll, not knowing that this robot was lurking around and is going to give his noggin a flogging. Maybe. That's my interpretation of the picture.
That's all that matters, is what you think it is.
That is true. That is true. I am the beholder, and that is, you know what they say, a picture's worth 1,000 robots with a spanner. Yes. So, young Patrick, what's your second article? What are you going to be?
So I'm going to talk about the game, And the game that showed up in this article that's very popular was Ogre.
Oh
Oh,
yes.
Metagaming micro games, metagaming concepts early on. And they even had a magazine called Space Gamer, which I think is advertised in this here somewhere. Yeah, on page 21.
Hmm. So
Uh,
you talked about the ogre ad on page 20,
20.
or yeah,
Yeah.
it's sideways, so you're gonna have to crane your neck to read it. But
Yeah. Well, you can rotate it clockwise like I did, but then you got to rotate it back when you're done.
nah, too much work.
But this
It would
is the
screw up our
actual
whole
ogre.
layout.
This is the actual ogre owned by Steve or designed by Steve Jackson Games,
Yep.
who actually worked for Metagaming Concepts in the 70s. And this guy apparently kind of gave Steve Jackson the carte blanche to create all those games that we all love now and play. And I think somewhere in the 80s, 83, the guy who owned it, I forget his name now. Howard Thompson was his name. I wrote it down. Just closed up shop, shut the magazine down, shut the whole game just down, and just called it quits. And then there is an article somewhere I've read somewhere where so when the guy let me backtrack again. I'm skipping ahead. When the guy closed up shop, he left all the gaming titles left in limbo, so no one had the rights and no one knew who had the rights.
Mm.
But there is an article of Steve Jackson talking about how we spent all this time from 83 up until 2017 when he finally got all his licenses back under control.
Is that when
really?
the giant box of ogre came out?
Yeah, when he re-released the big giant box ago, which I have sitting in my basement, which akin to everything else that's sitting in my basement.
Well, that thing is probably what, 2 feet by 3 feet big. It's huge. And meanwhile, this is
Yeah.
called a micro game for only $2.95. So it's funny how it's a micro game that grew into one of the largest game boxes that have ever been produced.
Well,
So
I remember Ogre in the 70s, and it was a chit game at that
yeah,
point
it's all
still.
chits.
So it was still small, and then it grew into bigger figure things, and it just got bigger and bigger. But I thought it was really cool to see Ogre in this magazine, and then I learned a little bit of history about because I didn't know who Metagaming Concept was, and I was thinking, did Steve Jackson steal this from this? But then when I dug into it, Steve Jackson actually worked for this guy.
Yeah, it wasn't Steve Jackson Games back then. Yeah, you
No,
assume that it was always Steve Jackson Games who made it, but no.
yeah. So I thought it was a very nice little gaming history thing I delved into, and I enjoyed that very much. And again, we're seeing games that were $250 or what is it? How much was it?
$2.95.
Yeah. Um, and then now, they're still around, and we're seeing a Gen Con. We actually went into the booth and even saw Steve Jackson talking about some of his games.
Car Wars, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, now the new ogre was probably just move that decimal places 2 spots, and that's about the price of it.
Yeah. So that was my kind of second article. I just thought it was very cool to see, and I learned a lot about the gaming history in that sense, especially with concern to Steve Jackson. And I really just curious why that guy just I wish someone could find this guy or find out anyone that knew him why he just said, "I'm done."
Maybe he died.
Yeah, because none of this stuff was not selling right at this point. Everyone, from what I read, everyone was just surprised. Like he just said, "All right, taking my stuff and I'm going home. Bye."
Nice.
So
okay. Well, Rob, what's your second highlight?
Well, mine's a twofer because it's kind of the same thing. It's the Legions of the Petal Throne painting guide on page 8. I just find it
oh,
hilarious.
Steve, take my last one.
I just find it hilarious that they have a painting guide with all black and white images. It's yeah, classic Dragon magazine.
All right, I will play the devil advocate part. But if you read the painting guide, it
Oh
does
yeah,
tell you the
they
colors.
explain all the colors, but it's black and white. They proved they could do color. All those mutants were in nice colors.
Yeah.
And yes, it does say like, oh, you have to make this one look shiny because it's a lacquer that armor and it's got a whole bunch of stuff. And
Oh yeah, it's really in depth. Yeah, like it's
Yeah,
each
well,
one is like a paragraph.
Well, I didn't know any much about the game. I do respect that they put out a painting guide for the figs.
Yeah, well, hey. Yeah, you were saying, Jack?
it is a unprecedented to do it like this and to take up so much space for it. I understand it is basically an ad for the miniatures because you do get the chance to look at the miniatures later on. But in my mind, I was thinking, we're in episode 6 now, and that's a lot of time and energy and for something that I guess maybe people thought was going to be a big hit.
Well, I think they also took what they could get. In a future one, he talks about how people are complaining about what articles are in the magazine. It's like, I print the articles that people give me. Like, if
Yeah.
you write articles, I'll put them in here. So it's probably this guy was a prolific article writer, so he got him more in
Yeah.
here.
I guess
But
it's not even pictures of these figs. It's just black
no,
and white hand-drawn pictures.
yeah. Which brings me to the Fantasy Forge, which is part 2 of my pick, because that is some of them are the pictures of the miniatures in the terrible, terrible renderings. They're pictures, but it's blobs. Like, you could barely tell what's going on. And they do reviews of all the miniatures. Mostly tells heights and where to get them, because there's all different companies making for all different games, but the Petal Throne ones are in here. Uh,
Page 19, and boy,
yeah.
oh boy, like
18 and 19, yeah.
it is. I'm again, the technology wasn't there. This is the dawn of this
Yeah.
is the prototype of what miniatures for a fantasy role-playing game would be.
Well, that's what I think.
Um,
Like, this is like the limit of what was available back then. This is it. This is the height of miniatures. You know.
Yeah.
yeah, like you see Raul Partha ads, you see all these other like big names, and they're comparable. But
Well, some of these miniatures are raw Partha because they're all different ones. I can't remember what minifig, Legions of Petal Throne. What else we got in here? Because it describes them all. Is this the one
Yeah,
that has the? Oh, it talks about the female
some of
miniature
those
too. I think.
some of those orcs with the pole arms are in another ad on page 17.
Yeah. But and they've the like owl bears and stuff. But I think even this one discusses. Is this the one that talks about the female miniature? Where it's like, oh, I see this company actually understands that there's female players who want to play. I'm like, well, there's a lot of male players who play female characters too. But it's funny how that wasn't even thought of at the time. But yeah, I'm just once again the bad art, but then also the bad miniatures. But I like to say that that's the limit of what they could do. So that's my two for right there. Petal Throne and the miniatures of the Fantasy Forge. Jack?
well, then I'm gonna thrill you with how little movement we have to do to go to my second article. It is James M. Ward again discussing further rules, modifications, and clarifications for Metamorphosis Alpha. So this magazine is dedicated to two games that, like, literally, other than the fiction, is dedicated to these two games, and basically it goes into a little bit of detail about like different powers and stuff, and again, I don't know how already from like I don't know when the game actually came out or how it was being designed, but there's just a lot of not erratas, but like just
Yeah, stuff they kind of forgot to put in the book that came up.
or fleshing out. I don't understand, and it just interested me that through Dragon Magazine they were rewriting the game that may or may not exist in a full functioning, fully fleshed out game, or if it was if it was being built as we went. But
Hmm.
yeah, so I just decided that I was going to stick with my theme here, Metamorphosis Alpha, and we'll see how long I can ride this train.
I think this is to I guess start something different. Is this the first issue where they actually had a staff artist?
Oh, the staff artist was in the other ones too.
Oh,
It seems there's more pictures in this one though. I find more like art to go with the articles, which is nice to fill up the pages. That it's just not blocks of text. The first few issues were just blocks of text. I think this is laid out a lot nicer. Sometimes it's hard to tell where the articles go because this one continued on page 30. Like and he threw an ad in here instead of just putting the article on one page.
It's like the old newspapers. Continue on page 12.
Yeah, yeah.
Section D, page 12.
Yeah.
Very, unrefined, but if you were following along, you get a little picture on page 30 of a little fanged monkey that just is hanging out, looking out a little hole.
That's true.
But yeah, again, it just all it was more powers, more backgrounds, more stuff for that game. So yeah, a game that I'd never heard of before. So yeah, I think that's good. Do you want to do a look at the ads? We did basically parse through most of them. Any that drew your attention?
Yeah, not so much in this one. Origin 77. I do want to say that they also mention for the other game that they mentioned, the third game is D&D, and psychic abilities for D&D, which I didn't think came until AD&D, second edition even. But I guess it's in the Eldritch Wizardry book, so there you go. There was psychic abilities even back at the beginning. I remember psionics later are way too powerful, and they kind of broke the game, but...
Oh, yeah, in second edition they did, 100%.
Yeah. Other than that, any ads? I don't think so. Ogre was the big ad that was in this one, I think.
There's a convention schedule 77 ad.
Yeah, there's a lot of different conventions. None in our areas, guys. We can't go to them.
No, it's too bad.
But yeah, I think that's about it. Anything else you guys want to talk about?
No, I'm good.
This one is a little bit... I will say that the comics haven't really stepped the game up yet.
No, they're not as funny as when...
No. Yeah. A couple of them I literally cringed. There's a couple that I was like, oh, Jesus.
Yeah, like the Phineas Fingers ones I don't find are funny at all. So
no.
But again, a very niche thing for a niche. At the time, I'm not saying that probably slayed that there wasn't people rolling in the aisles, but I'm sure there was like
there's no competition.
Yeah, this guy gets it. This guy,
he's one of us.
Yeah, he's one of us. I'm not gonna besmirch.
One of us.
Yeah. Okie dokie then. Well then, what do you say we wrap this bad boy up and we'll just say what do you two have on the go that you want to plug just before we scamper?
I'd like to plug spay and neuter your pets.
Okay.
Mobile Armor Radio. Pat and I are on a different show about robots called Mobile Armor Radio. You can find it on all your podcast catchers.
Nice. So aside from stealing Bob Barker's bit, Mobile Armor Radio. And okay, well then,
what about you, Jack? Are you doing anything exciting?
Why, thank you for asking. See, that's how this goes. This is the give and take. And if anyone out here who's listening and watching, if you play a game from Mantic Games called Dead Zone, I'm part of a heretic branch, the bad boys of the Mantic podcasting world. I'm part of a show called Team Building Exercise on Family Gamers 777 with my boy Rob. And there's some other guy, I forget. Tyler Schultz. And the three of us,
I can hear Coach yelling from here. Jeez.
Yeah, so go to Family Gamer 777. You can hear all about us talking about Dead Zone.
This will be a litmus test to prove if Coach listens to this podcast or not.
That is true. That is true. We'll see.
He'll never know. He'll never know the slight.
He'll never know.
So until then, I'm going to bid you all adieu. Bye-bye.
Adieu.
Bye-bye.
Adieu.
Adieu. Bye-bye.